my tax season is over. It is April 16th, so hopefully everyone filed their taxes on time or got an extension like I did. Well, I'm done thinking about taxes, I do know that. And it is time to get back to work on this little project we got going on. So, without further ado, let's see what we've got going and what needs done. So I don't know if you guys remember, but on our last little field trip, we got two big fertilizer tanks that are going to go right there. Well, in order to do that, you need to build some kind of assembly. And on these flex coil carts like this, we've got one pad here and one pad down here. It's about a 4.5 inch fall from up here down to here. So this is kind of a mock-up if I'm going to do this. Probably going to cut a 2.5 inch piece of this 2x3 by 1/4 inch wall. Nice heavy steel for this project. Should be more than adequate. And once I get this framed in like this, then we'll go ahead and start building up, and then do a similar frame up top. But that is where we're going to start. So let's get to it. Alright, so we've got this framework all mocked up here. Got it clamped down so that nothing is warping and moving while we're welding. As you can see, I kind of went with the original look of having an angle towards the front. Now the thought process is, how do I make it square up top? Which honestly, I think all I'm going to do is replicate this, keep the pillars, if you will, at this angle, and then have our cross members up here mimic this. Really just need to get it above that fan, and if that fan ever needs serviced, take it out from the bottom, much like how they did on these units that had the grass seeder attachments here. So I say we just get welding. That's going to be fun. A lot of weld beads there. So we'll get this side done and we'll move over to the other side. So let's review what we've done so far on the brackets for our fertilizer tanks for the front of this air cart. We've got our basically leveling devices, yeah, that's what we'll call them, to basically bring those mounting pads up level with one another. From here up to there, what did I say that was? 4.5 inches. Yeah, because these are 2x3 And then this little bit of the 2x3 I cut at 2.5. So between the top of this little pad here to the bottom of our cross member is 4.5 inches. So with that in mind, we got to do some more thinking, because the bottom of our fertilizer, ooh, I just knocked off some of my steel that I had staged. Anyway, those two tanks, when they're sitting side by side like they will be, are 8 foot wide. Now these 2x3s that I acquired, those are in 5 foot lengths. So we gotta do some more engineering. And I think what I'm gonna do is basically put another one right here dead center, going straight up so that they're level with the tops of these others. And then cut 2 of the 5 length pieces into 2 4 lengths, have them meet here in the middle and weld it all together at the top of that upright, and then put some bracing in there so that basically we don't have all that torque going on at these weld seams, just to make it sturdier. I mean, you're gonna have what, 600 some odd gallons up there sloshing around. Yeah, hopefully I'm doing this right. I think I am. So that's how it'll look. We'll have that center one right there. So I know that each of those uprights are 16 inches. And then I've got another 2 inches here, and then another 2.5 inches here. So add 4.5 inches to it. I need one 20.5 inch length piece of 2x3 to go right here dead center. And that should make everything nice. Now we'll put 2 more 16-inch pieces there at the back. Have a nice platform to work from. And then we'll start doing our cross members up top. Tanks will sit on there. Do some more welding. And the project moves forward. So, hooray! Now, look at this messy shop. I tell you what, I'm running out of room for project parts. I don't know if you guys can see back in there or not. But this is one of the things I did this morning. Went and got the final bits from Precision Planning. So there is some more parts for the second half of this air cart project. That's going to be for the planter project that we're working on this summer, after we get our little fertilizer applicator done. But the air cart serves both purposes, so technically what we're doing here, well, really technically here for the liquid, is going to be all for the planter component. So all right, enough talk, let's get to it. Now, to get these legs good and square, what I've done is I went and cut a piece of scrap angle iron, 1/8 inch. Actually, it might be a little bit heavier than 1/8 inch. Anyway, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, just a piece of angle iron. You don't want to go much thinner than 1/8 though, because of warping. But anyway, what this is doing, got a C-clamp on it on the base, which is already welded. And then my leg C-clamped to it. And that should hold this at a 90-degree angle while I tack that into place. Now, you could use those 90-degree magnets. What I've found is you still get warping. This is just a simple run to the scrap bin and grab something to make it work. So anyway, let's get tacking. So we got one side of our support beam welded on there. That's 4 foot that I cut over there on the bandsaw. Got that all welded into place. And while I was welding that, I kind of noted something. I got a lot of heat put into this structure right now, so I figured while I was letting it cool a little bit, I'm talking a couple minutes, I'd just bring you up to speed. So this is where we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other 4 foot piece on here, and then you can kind of be brought along for the ride as I weld that into place. That was pretty far away from the weld where I was touching. And I guess it really wasn't that hot, but warm. That's kind of what we're gonna do. Now, as you can see where the fulcrum is on this, it'll want to do this. So we're gonna get our little angle iron piece back out. Set that there for right now. Our little angle iron piece there. Like I said, there's just no good way to work on these carts. I should say that. Really shouldn't. There's a lot of stuff in the way, I guess. But I shouldn't complain. Because again, really weren't designed to do what I'm doing. Yeah, they were designed to have weight up front here, but in fairness to the engineer back at the flex coil plant, we're not engineered once I get this roughed on here. Oh yeah, that's warm. Get it as close as I can get it anyway. Square. No, not what we wanted to do. There we go. Right where we want it. Take a look out here. Pretty doggone close. Now I know from when I put that other one up that these are, this inner side here is 30 and a half. And we're right on the money. 30 and a half. I'll come all the way out to the end. I don't see why it wouldn't be any different. That's 31 up there. Probably not cut exactly straight. if anyone would notice it, but I will. I'll know it's there. $30.5. And 30 3/4. I'm getting there. Ooh, kind of looked like a 1/4 inch, didn't it? Maybe. I don't even know if I'm getting any of this on camera. 30.5. There we go. Let's come back up here. 30.5. All right, so it's just enough to be a little bit off. All right, so now we just got to do some welding. So I'll do some tack work down here. Then we'll come over here, do some tack work here, and then we'll weld the two together on a butt weld. And this piece will be on and ready to go. So now we got all of our up posts in place, or uprights in place, whatever you want to call them. And now it's time to put on the rear cross member, and then we'll start doing the, I guess you'd say, cross beams, the thing that's actually going to hold the Chem Farm tanks. So I'm gonna go get a 5-foot 2x3. Like I said, that's what they came in, and I was able to get a good deal on them, I think I have an idea on how I'm going to make this work. I'll take you along for the ride. So, okay, so I hope everyone had a happy Easter out there. This is still part of the same video, I'm guessing, but either way. I would like to acknowledge the passing of our Pope Francis. Hope he's in everyone's thoughts and prayers out there. I know I'm going to keep him in mind, and I think we all should do the right thing and keep him in ours. At any rate, we're going to keep working on this project, and I think during my Easter holiday, I kept thinking about this. You know, that's what normal people do. And, well, I decided what I'm going to do is extend that 5-foot cross member out to the full 8 foot. So, last I checked, 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5 feet. Each one of these little stubs is 1.5 feet. And then I'm using that same trick again where I've got my piece of angle here as a solid brace, and then I've got each side clamped, one to the workpiece and then one to the existing 2x3. We'll tack that up, weld it on, and I've also measured from front to back, and everything is good and square. So let's go ahead and get that welded on, and then we can go ahead and get our cross members welded on finally, and just maybe get some tanks on there. Tanks will probably go on in a separate video, I'm guessing. Well, now that is what you call a lot of welding. We've got all of our cross members welded on, true and square. We've got this extended out to the full 8 foot. Now it is time to go on to the next portion of this project, and you may see that I already have it mocked up here, or at least part of it. Ultimately, we're going to use 2 of these 2x3s to make a 7 by 3 bar that we can mount that unit on. So that's where our hydro pack or hydraulic booster pack, whatever you want to call it, is going to go. It's one of those made by Command Hydraulics. I got that at an auction last winter, relatively cheap, honestly. It was about a quarter the price of what they go for, somewhere in there. I don't know. It was cheap. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I cut a upright support, whatever you want to call it, 20 inches long, right? 20 inches? It was somewhere in there. 20 inches long. Just going to go on the front here at a slight angle. That angle to match the hitch. Honestly, it looks kind of nice, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. And then to protect it from getting water and other debris down in there, I'm going to put that little cap on there. Also 1/4 inch steel I had laying around. Actually, I think that might be 3/8. Either way, some heavy stuff I had laying around. Anyway, this is 3 inches, that's 2 inches, so there's 5. And if I had another 2, last I checked, that is 7. So that gets me 7 inches wide, which is enough for the U-bolts that go with that thing to bolt onto that. Oh yeah, and I don't have U-bolts for that, so we're just going to use regular bolts. But the holes in the bottom for each of the bolts are 7 inches on center. Am I saying that right? Or rather 7 inches in between the 2 holes. There we go. So it's like, I don't know, 8 inches on center or something of that nature. Anyway, tired. I don't know. I'm just too tired. I don't want to do math right now. If you guys at home want to do math, that's great. But anyway, that's where we're at. I say it's time to tack weld this up and yeah, get some work done. Number 2 that I gotta pull. Looks like fun, especially now that I'm out of room. Alright, so at least it's held up by that cradle assembly. I'm going to get the loader out of the way, and then we'll kind of mix around here. Yeah, mix around here and try to get those centered up nice and neat, but I think it'll look alright. Probably going to put some reinforcements on the bottom. Just like I said, that's 500 gallons up there. That's quite a bit of weight when you think about it. About 2.5 tons up there. Yeah. Well, the welding has started, so for better or for worse, this 787 is going to have 500 gallons of fertilizer riding up front. You can see where the smoke from the welder's collecting. I'll have to power wash this. Now, I know there's probably some people out there, you know, and all 85 or however many subscribers we're up to, that probably run these air carts or know of them. They're the Flex Coil 2320 John Deere 787s. John Deere basically bought these, painted them green from Flex Coil. Anyway, I've gotten some feedback, not so much from YouTube, but I did some research before I did this, and they're saying I'm asking for trouble. Basically, you put any more weight on those spindles, you look out. Now, I also see a bunch of people who are running 700 plus gallons of fertilizer up here on the front part of the hitch. Honestly, I'm taking all this into consideration because when I am planting, that's the only time that these are going to be full of fertilizer. The only amount of weight that's going to be here in the rear tank, or rather the rear 2 tanks, is basically 1 Pro Box worth of seed. So it's not even going to fill this thing half full. Trying to think how many bushels comes in a Pro Box and see what we can come up with. So a Pro Box, you're looking at 45 bushels. This is a 230 bushel cart. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not filling this thing clear full of rye or wheat or potash or any other fertilizer. I'm putting at most 1 Pro Box. Heck, maybe I'll push it and put 2 Pro Boxes worth in here. And that's corn, which is 56 pounds of the bushel, or yeah, 56 pounds of the bushel. Potash, you're looking, oh, what is that? I think it's 75, somewhere in there. It might even be more than that, to what these carts are actually designed to run. Now, in the fall, when I do my cover crop, we'll have a full back compartment of potash and some rye or whatever cover crop here in the front. These tanks aren't going to be in use. So that's the general thought process. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know. We'll be safe trying this out to see how we go. We'll make sure we keep those wheel bearings packed and in good shape. But yeah, also, you saw there in the video me setting this little Command Hydraulic power pack on here. Actually went on there pretty nice, and there's a lot more room than I had pictured. So the one downside to this that I had to figure out how I was going to overcome, see if we can get in here. We measured these, you saw me. These are 7 inches apart wall to wall. Figured 7 by 7 bars, what these usually mount on. Apparently that's not the case. Apparently it's 8 by 8. So I had to weld these little tabs on here. I don't know if I really needed to, but I wanted to, just so that these bolts could be over against something and still bolt on like they should. It still looks kind of cheesy in my opinion, but yeah, it is what it is. So there's that. I don't know how to walk around here now. There's less stuff on the floor. Over on this side, you can barely see it here in the dark. You know, well lit shop. Oh yeah, we don't have light out here. This area, that area, I am going to put a auxiliary fan. Now I know what you're saying. Well, this is an air cart. You know, it already has a fan. Well, that's true. The reason I'm doing that, not so much for its use as an air cart for this strip till project. That I'm going to use the standard flex coil fan that came with it. However, this fan I'm going to use when I turn this thing into the CCS compartment for our corn planter and soybean planter. Reason being is how these flex coils work. The fan builds pressure there, and it comes down and then goes into these meter housings. You can barely see it up in there. The point I'm trying to make is I need to find a way to get the air pressure from here to a 6-inch hole in the side of my entrainers that I got from Kinsey. Well, I got from somebody else, but they are Kinsey entrainers. Thought process here is I could have, made some kind of duct work to go on the front meter housing. That's really what I was originally going to do, and then duct it off of that and over into the entrainers. I just don't feel like that. Yeah, I thought, you know what, if I could find something like a fan, another fan, boy, that would be nice. So let's go see what came today. Kind of late at night. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see. Well, you can't really see it. But inside this shrink-wrapped mess is a CCS fan for a 1910 John Deere air cart. Perfect for what we're needing to do. I got a really good deal on it. Thing looks all but brand new. I had to come home midday from work to unload it, but we're gonna get that put on here. So basically, when this thing is a corn planter, that fan will be running. That'll be in this area. And when this thing is back into am I saying that right? Yeah. And then when this thing's back into strip till mode, the original fan will run. So we'll just have some ball valves coming off our power pack up there, which that power pack is going to run the flex coil fan when it is in strip till mode, and that power pack will run the 2 vac motors and the CCS fan when it's in corn plant, soybean plant mode. So anyway, that's enough talking.